Don't let anyone discriminate you at all. Like, you are just as good as the next person, if not better. Just go out there and prove to yourself that you can do this. Have the determination and be brave enough to take those steps.
Welcome to the Career Brand Story Podcast, where we talk about your career, your brand, and your story. I'm Jeremy Tudor, career strategist, brand marketer, and storyteller that created the Career Brand Story method that has helped thousands of job seekers craft their career brand story for today's job market and land their dream job. Today, we're talking about your personal brand and the importance of it in your career. And I'm excited to introduce to you Ishy Shah and have her share about her personal brand transformation. Ishy originally is from the UK, professionally works for a large global communications tech company where she cultivates relationships with global strategic and regional suppliers that strengthen inclusion and diversity across the US, India, and do we say EMEA? I don't know how to say that.
EMEA.
Do they say that, EMEA, or do they say the acronym? In my international recruiting, I don't know that I ever really had to do that.
Yeah, what is EMEA?
EMEA is
emerging markets.
Oh, it's the emerging markets. Okay.
We're real professionals here at the Career Brand Story Podcast. We know all the lingo and jargon.
Well, there's the acronym also for countries in the work in the Middle East that I can't remember, but that's what I actually was in my head thinking towards that. But the emerging markets, learn a new business acronym every day. All right.
Circle the wagons.
This is why Ishy is the expert on the show today.
Of course.
So her expertise is as a strategic advisor, optimizing business processes and sourcing strategies to find solutions to really complex engagements. And when you meet Ishy, you know she's in the room. Her strengths are working with people, her customers, her business partners, and she is by far one of the most inspiring and influential and impacting people that I have ever met in my life. And so Ishy, we are so happy that you came to Career Brand Story to allow us to walk on your career journey and help with your personal brand. And I'm looking forward to just being able to have our audience be able to hear about your personal brand transformation today. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited.
Yeah. And of course, we always have Jeb Graff, commercial photographer, creative consultant, and our podcast producer on the show as well. And Jeb was actually really instrumental in this personal brand transformation process as well. So we'll cut into that and his part with what he's done with brand story libraries as well.
Yeah, I'm happy to be back as always. I'm really glad that we're into our second season of the Career Brand Story podcast. And I'm really excited to have Ishy here because Ishy, I will probably mention this later, but she's also known as Little Firecracker Ishy. So this should be a pretty exciting show.
Yeah. Well, so Jeb, myself, Ishy, and the entire Career Brand Story team, we really had so much fun developing your personal brand. And I think the best part of the journey with all of our clients was that we get to hear your story. So I just wanted to start off by, why did you even decide to engage on this journey?
So this is interesting because the brand itself and brand story is something that has always been a topic of discussion. I recall probably a couple of years ago, I was on a women's development training course, and one of those topics was about what is your brand? Let's think about your brand. And at that time, I was struggling to even determine what is a brand. I was thinking, is it tangible? Is it something you feel and touch? And I was solely relating it to work in terms of what I deliver to my stakeholders, to my clients, to my partners. Right. And I struggled. I couldn't put anything on a paper. And what was interesting is the coach at that time on the course suggested that I should reach out to my peers, my colleagues, and even a couple of my stakeholders to get their feedback in terms of why do they engage with me? What do they see that I do well, or what do they see as my strengths and weaknesses? But even then, I just couldn't figure out what my brand was. So over time, especially over the 2 years, I refocused mainly around what I was doing in my personal journey. I have been going through personal transformation in terms of really focusing on my training and my fitness. During 2019, I had a plan of doing about 6 or 7 Spartan races for that year. That was my goal. And I was aggressively training every single day. And as part of that, I was posting a lot of my training on Instagram and Facebook so I could share with our community as well as my friends and family. During that time, I noticed that I was getting feedback, and this is really important when you are thinking about your brand, is whatever you put out there, you're getting feedback constantly. And what I realized is the feedback was consistent. So that's the key, is consistent feedback of, Ishy, you are so strong in this. You look really strong, really powerful in this exercise video. Or you have so much energy, we just don't know what to do with you. It's like this energy that you have, you channel this into your training that you do, but even the energy and this kind of, let's say, burst of like positivity that I bring to a team when we're training with each other was kind of visible. This is what the feedback I was getting. Another thing as well, which I was gathering these mental notes of this feedback, was every time I did a really cool training exercise over the weekend, I would video it. And I would take it into the office at the time in 2019 and share with my colleagues at work hey, this is what I did over the weekend. Isn't this so cool? And the feedback, again, from my colleagues in the office was, wow, Ishy, this is amazing. What you do is just, you go out there, you have a plan, and you come back the next week and the next following Monday with, hey, I did this over the weekend. And this actually helped motivate them and inspire them. But it also, again, was helping me create or define my brand. Then last year happened, 2020. And obviously this impacted everyone. We were working from home. And so now I was having to kind of change the way I was, sharing my information. I couldn't actually go into the office and share these little cool videos.
Right.
So I was more proactive in terms of sharing, getting more proactive on Instagram, putting it out there in terms of, this is what I'm doing. I'm sharing with you just of a way of connecting with my audience. And it was also helpful to connect with my family, which was really important. And it was the same feedback. It was the feedback I was getting now through the social media platform is, wow, you're really inspiring, and you're very strong and positive and confident, but you're also so petite but very full of energy. So it was all of these things that was kind of helping me define who I am. And then I decided, I said, I'm really going to really focus on this personal brand of mine, because I think it's something I want to do for myself in terms of, capturing this for myself, and also be able to help increase my visibility out with my audience.
Yeah. And, it doesn't take long for people to realize like the positivity, the energy, the enthusiasm that you bring to all of your relationships. I remember our first call, was on a Saturday morning. In fact, I had just made the policy where I was like, I'm not taking any calls on Saturdays anymore. And then you were pretty determined that, hey, can we talk today? And it was probably this most enthusiastic conversation I've had with a client ever. Where does that energy come from? And I'll also say this, because you're sitting down, so people don't realize this, but you are short, you are petite. Yeah. Like, you make the point about that. So how tall are you?
4'9".
Yeah. And yet there is so much energy in you. Where does that come from?
So this is quite an interesting story. You know, when I was younger, I'm a sibling. There's 7 of us in the family.
Oh wow!
And I'm the third.
What number are you?
I'm the third eldest.
Okay.
And all my siblings, especially my sisters, I have 2 older sisters, 2 younger sisters, and 2 younger brothers. However, all of my siblings are much shorter than me. And so when I was younger, you know, I was the smallest out of my siblings, and they were always protecting me. However, I hated this fact of being protected, but they were, you know, it's just general natural reaction is them protecting me. But I always seemed to have this energy that I couldn't contain. I just couldn't keep still. I was always wanting to do something. You know, I mean, we were always like out playing outside and playing game of rounders. I don't know what they call it over here, similar to, I don't know, baseball or something. But we were out doing lots of activities with our friends and my siblings, and I just have all this energy. But the other thing as well, and my father used to say this quite a lot, is, Ishy, we can't see you, but we can definitely hear you, because you would know I'd be in the room. I would always be making a lot of noise or making a lot of jokes and making people laugh. I would always make my sisters laugh. And I liked it. I think what I used to find really enjoyable was being able to make other people smile. My family are like my best friends, my sisters and my brothers. And we just, that's what we did. It was just this energy, and I had no way of channeling it anywhere. It was just, if I laugh, then you're going to have to laugh with me. Over the years, as I grew older, I was channeling this energy. I started going to the gym, you know, I said, let me work out, you know, and that was helping me to release this energy that I had. And I've been continuously doing that over the years. But this whole kind of infectious energy that I bring, it has always just been part of me when I was younger, in terms of, well, because I always have this notion that you can't see me, but you're going to hear me. So if you're going to hear me, there's going to be this energy that's going to, I wanted to have the recipient feel that energy. And that's kind of reflected in my professional as well as my personal life. You know, when I have a meeting or I'm chatting to a colleague at work, they feel, you know, you see the smile on their faces, and, you know, an introduction, and suddenly that person is interested. They want to talk to you. So, and that's really been my kind of approach in life, and generally, especially when you're handling a difficult situation at work or a very difficult client or helping solve a complex problem, is getting on the call, reassuring the client or the business partner, but making them relax, making them smile. And I think that subconsciously the energy is reflecting on that difficult situation. And that helps. That has always helped in the cases that I have dealt with.
Well, and it goes back to what you were saying too. You were using the word feedback. I guess I would maybe transform that word into engagement, right? And what we give out to people, right, yes, is what you receive back, that engagement. And I know all 3 of us, we've sat in corporate meetings before where, gosh, you'd do anything to get out of the room as fast as you could if you wanted to. And that positive energy is so important, I think, to bring in, and especially after what we've all worldwide have like experienced over this last few seasons, how important it is to have people that can help us deal with the reality, but in a positive and hopeful way. And I think that's so important to be able to see. So you talked about the fitness community a lot, as I know has driven you a lot in helping even that more. How has that changed you, that particular community?
The fitness community has been really important to me in terms of, number one, increasing my network on a personal level, and also engaging with similar like minds. The positivity that other people bring as well helps me grow as well in my personal development. But being part of a fitness community, it wasn't intentional. It was kind of, I needed to go to a place where I could train. And what I realized as part of that is there was a whole world out there in terms of a community. And they had the same kind of objectives and goals as I did. They wanted to get stronger, wanted to get fitter. And the other thing as well that I found really inspiring to me is I wasn't being judged. Given the fact that I am 4'9" and I turn up to a training center and everyone's much taller, much stronger than me, I wasn't being judged at all. And I really did feel inclusive, even in this community. I joined this fitness community through the fact that I wanted to train harder and smarter for my Spartan races. And I went to my first Spartan race. I participated in my first Spartan race back in 2017. And that was hard. It was really hard, my first race. I went with a couple of really good friends of mine. And, I had to really face my fears. There were obstacles were really, really high. I don't even know how high they were, but there would be a wall that would be 6 foot, then 8 foot or 10 foot. And obviously, me being 4'9", I couldn't get over that wall. So, it was first of all conquering my fears of heights. So as a team, me and my friends would help me get over this wall. But once I got to the top of this wall and I had to get down, I was trembling. It's like, how am I going to do this? But, again, the importance of having team members help you, they're conquering their own fears, but they're helping you conquer yours. And that was really, really crucial in my development. And, this thing of overcoming fear of being on a race such as a Spartan, which is really, really, let's say, taxing on mentally as well as physically. That was really, really kind of eye-opening for me. But it did make me realize that there was a huge community in this Spartan area, in the Spartan fitness area. And, even there was this scenario on my first race, and I still had it for a few races as well, is again, given my height, and I'm not a great swimmer. In fact, I need a few more swimming lessons. There would be areas where you would have to go, it's called a dunk wall, where you would have to go into this muddy kind of water and go under this wall to come out. And for me, given my height, the water would be about here.
Oh.
And then, so I had this fear of water and me sinking because it was mud. Yeah. And I didn't want to go under. So it took literally 20 minutes or something for my friends to persuade me to go under this dunk wall. But again, it was facing my fears, and it was always this subconscious of my height. I can't do this. I'm going to die kind of thing. But I realized that the person that's 6 foot tall is going through the same thing as well. They're facing different types of fears. But it was, it didn't come to me overnight. It took some time, and it still does sometimes, conquering these fears and how to get better at conquering, and overcoming these obstacles. So when I was introduced to this fitness community, that really helped me kind of look at, my own fears and my own challenges, and saying it's okay to fail, it's okay to feel this way, as long as you get up and try again. And that's what I really liked, is we all need someone in our lives to tell us this, instead of saying, well, you failed, you're no good, you shouldn't be doing this. And there's no discrimination, there's no judgment. And I really do love that in a community such as this. It has been good for me mentally and physically. And because of being in a positive environment, I then can share that with others as well.
Yeah. Well, so first of all, I just want to say, I love the analogy of like, hey, I'm 4'9", I'm scared of heights, but so is the 6 foot guy. So I'm 6'1". And if I'm terrified of heights, like I would have the same fear. And I think that is such a cool thing to think about. Not the part that we would both be scared of heights, but that universally people like, that's the part that doesn't matter. We all have these, we actually have common fears and common things that, can hold us back in life.
Yes.
But having community, having friendship, having those things that can push us out of our comfort zone and conquer, that's a powerful analogy to kind of think about.
Yeah, I'm 6'3", and I would be scared of getting stuck under the wall because I'm also overweight. I'd be having a hard time thinking like, I think I'm going to get under there and be stuck.
Yeah. Yeah. Heights. And I'm claustrophobic. So like, I'm sorry, but I will never go like spelunking or caving.
Good call.
That's never going to happen.
I should say you can do it, Jeremy.
Yes.
But I'll tell you something I do want to do is I want to do the zip lining down through the mountains.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So I feel like that's something all three of us need to go do together.
I'm for it.
Absolutely.
And that's height and speed. And I don't even know why I want to do it, but for some reason I feel like I want to do that. But yeah. So the other thing that was kind of coming to mind as you're talking about this, so this fitness part, right? As you said at the beginning, you're going in, you're showing your colleagues and your teammates like, hey, look at this. And you're using this again as an inspirational moment. And even getting to know you, like you inspired me to do a 30-day 30 hike challenge with my daughter in January, which we accomplished.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah. And I also know that like my brother was like inspired by me to like get out and do more hikes as well. And so it's really cool to see like the ripple effect, right? That has. And so this fitness part, why is that so important to you in your personal brand as you communicate that out?
It's important to me on different types of levels. First of all, maintaining my fitness has always been a priority for me. I do have very sensitive lungs in general. I have mild form of bronchiectasis, and it has really helped me, maintain the level on my overall fitness because of the fact that if I didn't work out, I would have very severe asthmatic problems. So it was a priority for me from very young that I had to just maintain just keeping mobile, being able to help to breathe more easily, especially in the mornings. I really struggle. But, the fact that I was doing something to keep myself mobile and keep myself active really helped. So it was really about my health and my personal health. But it was coming back to this whole channeling my energy as well, because I just didn't know what else to do. I originally, I come from the city of London. I come from London. My family are from the north of England, from Manchester. So being in a large city, you really didn't get to be out much other than going to a gym, paying your very expensive membership, but not getting a lot out of it in terms of training. So it was a challenge being in a big city. But when I moved over to the US and I wasn't living in a big city anymore, getting out, especially the weather really helps. It really helped me in terms of, wow, I can get out. I can do a bit more running and I can do a lot more activities that I couldn't do back home. And that really helped shape who I am from where I was just stuck in the gym all the time and not really getting anywhere. I found that being outside, but also being part of an active fitness community was helping me shape myself mentally. I was getting a lot more positive in my own thinking and my approach in life, as well as physically. I could see that there was transformation going on. I felt a lot more stronger. I could see a difference in the way I was feeling, the way I was looking. And, this was really helping me in my journey in terms of, wow, that is part of me, that's part of who I am.
Yeah. So with your family in the UK, especially after going through 2020, I don't know, you haven't been able to go back and travel like you would want to. How's that experience been for you over this last year?
It has been really hard. It was actually this time last year that the last time I traveled home to see my family. And I knew, as soon as, the whole lockdown hit, I knew that it would be at the time it'd be several months that I could see my family again, and then it became a year. But we have a really active communication through video and social media that we keep in contact with, because my family are my best friends,
Yeah.
and the only way that we have been able to keep in contact is through social media, through our Instagram. And it's important that they can see that I'm doing okay, because sometimes I can't get on a video call with them. They're really busy or I'm really busy. So just putting something out there to say, I'm okay. I'm sure, I'm hoping it reassures them, but it reassures myself is a way of communicating. If you're not physically talking to them, but you're demonstrating that I am doing okay, and I'm continuing doing what I love and what I have a passion for. And that helps, keeps us connected.
Well, and you have young nieces. So
Yes.
What do they call you?
They call me crazy Auntie Ishy. They always have called me crazy Auntie Ishy. Yeah.
Well, and I know, as a woman of color, you have a message that you received growing up. But I also know that you hope to convey a certain message to the next generation. And I know your nieces are an important focus of that, that you're inspiring and influencing them. What do you hope to convey to the next generation?
So being a woman of color, when I was younger, it was, we were faced with discrimination. I don't think I even knew the word racism. I didn't even know what that meant.
Right.
But I was faced with a lot of discrimination when I was young at school. And how school is sometimes, or college. Kids can be nasty. That's a reality. And discrimination wasn't just about my color. It was about my height. I had the additional challenge because of my height. And my sisters, especially my older sisters, they would protect me all the time. And so I was dealing with a lot of discrimination. And I hated the fact that, again, coming back to my earlier point of my sisters would protect me, but I wanted to protect myself.
Right.
I wanted to be strong enough and brave enough to say, I'm okay as I am. I don't need to be looking like you or tall like you. But it was a journey. I mean, the best part of 20 years for me to accept who I am today. So I was faced with, I feel, an extra layer of discrimination. But I was always a very determined and very passionate person in trying to believe in myself. I could do better. I could be just as good as my siblings, my friends, or other people. And I had, my family have been really amazing support. And my father and my mom supported me in everything that I wanted to do. And I was very kind of, I'm going to go and study. I'm going to go and be a chartered accountant. I'm going to get the most amazing job. I had all these things in my head that I was going to do, but it was really proving to myself rather than proving to others that I could do all these things that I wanted to do and not let this discrimination get to me. And I think that is what I want to portray. And I hopefully have been able to portray to my nieces and my nephews, and And, the next generation, to my great nephews and nieces, as they start their little babies right now, that will be able to portray that type of message to them is, don't let anyone discriminate you at all. Like, you are just as good as the next person, if not better. Just go out there and prove to yourself that you can do this. Have the determination and be brave enough to take those steps, because it is hard. It's a hard journey. It's never going to be easy, but you have to really believe in yourself. And, I still have my moments when I think, oh, can I do this? But it's got easier for me to, get over that doubt than it was 10 years ago.
Yeah. So I remember in our personal branding session, so when we work with clients, there's this one personal brand session that you have with the whole team. And we're sitting down and we're asking just a series of questions. And doing several of these now, what I realized with everyone's story, there comes this moment, and it surprises me in the branding session, because I think when people think about branding sessions, they think we're talking just about colors and, shapes and things, all like aesthetic kind of stuff. But personal brand is actually so much more than that, right? It's identifying so much more than that. And so even what surprised me going through this process with our clients is that there's these moments that come out in that personal brand session that you hear the story and you go, oh my gosh, that's a pivotal moment. Like that's a moment where everything changed. And I remember that in your session that you ended up talking about losing your father. And it just seemed to be this pivotal moment in your life that just changed everything and set like the next direction of what you were going to do. Could you just talk to us a little bit about how that experience shaped you?
Losing my father, it still is a really painful subject. I struggle to talk about it. However, the pieces that I am able to talk about is, yes, those moments is, having the most important person in my life not here anymore. My father was the one who held my hand in hospital. Because coming back to me and this thing with, I wasn't growing up at the same rate as my siblings. Yeah. I was in and out of hospital for the first 6 years of my life. I don't know why. I used to go to hospital and doctors would see issue, just monitoring me. But the only person that was there with me holding my hand was my dad. And I remember I used to cry sometimes because I didn't know what was going on. And my dad would say, you're fine, you're going to do great things. And you just believe it because your dad is telling you this.
Right.
And he was always my light, everything I did, bringing my school report home or some achievement I did at school or college. He would be the first person that I would talk to. When I moved away to college to study, I would call him every other day. But he was always there to support me. If anyone was going to believe in me, it was my dad. I moved to London when I graduated, and my dad was so happy for me when I first got my first job. So I did spend a lot of time away from home. And during that time, that's when I lost my dad. And I think what completely broke me was the fact that I didn't get home in time to say goodbye to him. And my whole world fell apart. It was like, I can't even describe, the pain that I was going through, but it was my lowest point. I had to give up. That's how I felt, that, the world had just turned against me. Everything that I was wanting to do, I was like, I wanted to share my success and with my dad to say, hey, I've done this, and right. I couldn't do that. So I felt cheated. I was very angry, very lost, heartbroken, any kind of words you can describe. And I shook myself off from the rest of the world other than my family. I took some time out left London, went back home. My mum is the most solid, strongest person I can ever imagine. You know, I can't even recall her breaking down. And my family were so strong as well. And I had to be with them. But it was really painful because I really didn't know what I was going to do. I thought all my plans that I had didn't mean anything to me anymore. So, yeah, I was in this period of just being home with my family because that's where I needed to be. And I shut myself off from everyone else. So it did take some time to figure out what am I going to do and did it mean anything? Was there a purpose? But then I realized that if my dad was around today, he would say, get up and go and do those great things. Because it's what he couldn't do or what his hopes and dreams for his children. I needed to do that. I needed to do that for myself and for him to be looking down and be proud on me and my sisters and brothers too. So we all had to, you know, I had to feel that I had to step up. You know, we were all had a responsibility now. And the only way that I could do that is to better myself. And it was really hard because it was a lot of soul searching, because the first thing you have to do is identify who you are. It's like, I had to identify with myself is who I am, what am I going to do, and how am I going to make this worthwhile for me? And so I can be proud of myself and then my family as well. So it was the most pivotal moment, but it was the most painful as well, in terms of being able to show that you got to have the determination that when you are at your lowest, and I was at my lowest, I don't think I could I can't imagine it now, but I don't think anyone can who's going to lose, especially a parent, the feeling you're going to go through. I mean, everyone deals with it differently, but is going through that and figuring out, what am I going to do? Am I going to stay here, or am I going to go and do something that is going to make our parents proud of us? So it was really, really what drove me to get out there and start making the best of what I had, in terms of the success that I was going to drive, because I had a plan that this is what I wanted to do. I'm going to need to go out there and get it.
Yeah. And I think what you said, coming to the place to know who you are, and I think that piece is so important. And when you're developing your personal brand, it's the difference between having depth to your brand, to just having a logo, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you could have gone to a company and said, well, create an Ishy logo, right? But I think that what you really have developed out is said, no, this is who I am. This is why I'm doing this stuff today. And I want to communicate that message. So how is creating your personal brand now that, of course, we're kind of ending on this process of we got all the things that we've created and done, the cool things like videos and colors and all of that. But now being in a place where you really understand who you are and are developing that why you want to share all this out, how is this starting to impact you both personally and professionally?
On both levels, it's helped to define, kind of, let's say, solidify who I am. I think I already knew, and a lot of people out there who know me already knew what I'm about, but it is helping for the next person I get introduced to, or in terms of my networking, in terms of my increasing my visibility, increasing my network, and also to expand my personal contacts as well, in terms of this is what I'm about. But it is really about solidifying exactly who I am and building on that. I think that's really important. I don't think you should ever kind of say this is done. It's an evolution of yourself as you're transforming and going into, your future as to where you want to go next in terms of your career, and making sure that you build on the brand that you have set.
Yeah, none of us have ever arrived, right?
No,
Yeah.
it's a journey.
Yeah.
That old thing of if you're not growing, you're dying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to get into just to share really quick some of the practical things too. So you went through our career brand story method. So that's just our career stuff of resume, LinkedIn, your story pitch. But where we really got into the personal brand piece is we created this really cool virtual story video of you. We're going to be sharing that out on our social media channels and also cross sharing with you. And so I'm looking forward to everyone seeing that. It turned out so well, and being able to see how your fitness journey and inspiration ties in so much with who you are and how you inspire other people. In that process, you actually are working with Jeb on the brand story library. So I don't know, Jeb, if you want to share a little bit about that, because I think it's a really cool piece to how all this fits in and how visually, I guess what I'm trying to say, it's a cool piece because it's a visual way of Ishy to be able to share her brand and her story out there.
Yeah. I feel extremely lucky to be able to work with Ishy on her personal brand story library. And just a quick definition of what that really is a personal brand story library. For if you do one with me, I'm a photographer. If you didn't know, I'm a commercial photographer. And so essentially we're going to go and create not just portraits, but images that really tell the nuance and the story of what Ishy is all about. And for her library, we're really focusing on the fitness. If you've been listening up to now, you know that she is very passionate about her fitness and it's very important to her. And, you can't really have Ishy without fitness. So we're really focusing on that. And then through the work that she did with Career Brand Story, with identifying a color palette and those kinds of things, we're going to work within that palette and really just have this nice cohesive library of images that Ishy can then use in her own social media to deliver the messages she wants to deliver with impact and without having to go and, pick some stock photo or just a picture of a flower or something. You actually see the real deal. And I did want to say too, this is kind of going back to an earlier question, but Ishy is already helping other people. Like, she doesn't even have to be in the room for you to hear her. I had one of her photos up I was working on in the studio while I was waiting for a client to come in for a session. And they came in, they saw her photo, and they just immediately started talking about her smile and how beautiful and wonderful her smile is. And it actually inspired them for their own headshot session to feel more relaxed and comfortable. So Ishy is just that person. She's just really radiating positive energy. And I really love working with her.
Yeah, that's why I wore this shirt today. Fueled by positive energy. I was like, I'm talking to Ishy, so I've got to wear this shirt today.
Yeah, you can just strike that out and say "fueled by Ishy."
Yeah.
Wait, I'm trademarking that.
T-shirt now.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to seeing all the photos as you guys develop those out. I think it's just a really cool piece, and and the other thing about, I think, personal brand is that you want to portray authentically you, and so so being able to see that visually is just such a cool piece to all of this. So that's really, really exciting to see. So Ishy, we ask this question of all of our first-time guests, which everyone should just know. We hope to have Ishy on many times. She and I have been talking about collaborations down the road. But it's your first time on the Career Brand Story podcast. So we ask this of everybody: what do you want to be when you grow up?
Kamala Harris, actually.
That's awesome.
But not. I mean, putting politics aside, she represents, for me, South Asian women as well. And coming from a similar kind of background, I think this is really kind of resonating with me, is she presents or portrays a woman that is from a similar background as myself, but also believes in what she can bring and what she has done over the years. And she is in such a powerful position now, but she is also inspiring a lot of women out there, for young generation to women like myself, is like anything is possible. And I think that's the message, is I want to be able to be the person to say anything is possible, especially women of South Asian and any woman of color, is that don't let anyone put you down. And when you're faced with discrimination, you need to rise up and be able to tell yourself that you can do what you believe in, and also think about how you can also encourage others to help them in their journey as well. So I think that's really how I feel I want to be, is that kind of person.
Yeah. I like to say that we were just so smart that we planned all of this for Women's Month, but we didn't.
I was going to say.
Yeah. I mean, but it's so cool, and it's so right. Because one of the most, I think, kind of powerful images in talking about Kamala Harris is that when you see all the male vice presidents up to her, and what an image, and so that's really cool. That's really cool.
Brand is not just a logo, a color, or a catchphrase. It's custom. It's your language, your culture, your vibe, and so much more. So why leave your brand imagery up to whatever you can find on a stock photography website? I'm Jeb Graff, and I'd like you to consider getting in touch with me for your custom photography for your custom brand needs. I've worked with people across the United States to make photography that tells their story better and more effectively than any search on a stock site could. And I'd like to work with you too. So go to jebgraff.com/contact to leave stock behind and say hello to imagery that's as custom as your brand. That's jebgraff.com/contact. Talk to you soon.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Career Brand Story podcast. You can find me on Facebook or LinkedIn. Just search for Jeremy Tudor. And on Instagram, I'm at Jeremy T. Tudor. Also, while many of us listen to this podcast, because that is what a podcast is for, you can also watch each episode on the YouTube. Just search Jeremy Tudor, our Career Brand Story, to find us. And if you could, like us, subscribe to us. We really appreciate that. Ishy, where can people find you?
You can find me at Ishy Shah on LinkedIn, and on Instagram, you can find me on littlefirecracker_Ishy.
And Jeb, when we're not panicking that we've lost a client's recording, I won't say that it was Ishys. Where can we find you?
We're never panicking about losing people's files because we have a very solid backup system. Right? You can find me on Instagram. Well, pretty much everywhere. I have the same handle. It's at JebGraff, JebGraff. And I'd appreciate if you check out my updated and refreshed website at jebgraff.com.
Yeah, and everybody can learn about the brand story library there. It's really cool to read about and look at. Yeah. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone, and keep thriving.
If you're interested in advertising your business on our podcast, we advertise for local and national companies. Contact McKay at careerbrandstory.com for more information. That's MCCAY at careerbrandstory.com.